Well, we continue to follow breaking news this morning. Kaiser Permanente employees here in Colorado are officially on strike this morning. It's putting a strain on an already short healthcare staffing issue.
Denver 7's Wanya Reese is outside one of the company's medical offices in Lone Tree. And Wanya, Kaiser says there had been some progress at the bargaining table in the last 24 hours, but we obviously see workers picketing behind you.
Good morning to you, Brian and Nicole. You're exactly right, Nicole. It was around 4:30 this morning that we learned that talks went on throughout the night and even until this morning to try and strike a deal before these strikes happen. I did get a chance to speak with a Kaiser Permanente communications employee while we're out here on the scene, and she tells me that those talks are still going on right now. Despite those talks, you see exactly what's happening right here across my shoulder. When we started off this morning, there was maybe just a little bit, under a dozen or a little bit more than a dozen. Now I just recently counted a little over 40 people who are out here striking, and we've gotten a chance to speak with a couple of workers, and they tell us that the reason why they are out here is not only because their own health care is being impacted, but because they're having to tell some patients that, hey, we can't get you a CAT scan for at least a year, and they are blaming that on Kaiser. Now, we did get a chance to speak with an employee a little bit yesterday, and she is part of the healthcare division of Service Employees International Union, and she's the vice president. Her name, Patricia Johnson-Gibson, who claims that Kaiser Permanente is not wanting to work at the bargaining table in good faith, and that's something that we heard out here also. Workers say more staff will mean more patient care in the end. On the other side, we do have to tell Kaiser's story. They're saying that every provider is facing staffing shortages and they feel a strike is not justified. Even with Kaiser's position, Johnson-Gibson says now is the time for change.
Kaiser Permanente is not getting it. It's almost like having your oxygen turned all the way down and you're gasping for air and you're in a space right now where you're saying, help us, and you're walking away. That's how I feel. And they'll do the right thing by increasing wages, better staffing, which means that we can give better patient care, and patients' wait times, appointment times will not be 3 and 4 months out.
An employee that I spoke to this morning echoing those same sentiments, saying that the cost of living here in Colorado is just very high and they need to have a pay that's able to meet that high cost of living. Once again, Kaiser Permanente saying that they are currently at the bargaining table in California right now trying to go ahead and strike a deal. And Brian and Nicole, something I know that we were talking about a little bit earlier, everything is open when it comes down to health care for their patients, but they are saying in some of their smaller facilities, like at their pharmacy in Parker, they are having to close that location and send people to a King Soopers or a Safeway, a regular drugstore, so that they can go ahead and meet the accommodations because of this ongoing strike, the largest happening from the east to the west coast.
All right. Important to know. Thank you, Wanya. For more context on the strike, we saw something similar this time last year. 15,000 nurses went back to work after striking for 3 days. The Minnesota Nurses Association organized the largest private sector nurses strike in U.S. history, calling for solutions to staffing shortages and better patient care. And as we dig deeper, that strike comes at a time when violence against healthcare workers is on a rise nationwide. Here in Colorado, healthcare workers are 5 times more likely to be injured compared to other lines of work. On average, a nurse is assaulted every 30 minutes. More than 5,200 Colorado nurses were assaulted in the second quarter of last year alone. Denver 7 spoke to one former UC Health nurse who says a patient punched her after staff wouldn't let him go outside to smoke a cigarette, and that's why she left the industry.
He just really lost total control of himself. He was standing up at the bedside and he took a closed fist and hit me directly in the chest.
The Colorado Hospital Association says the state is expected to be short 10,000 nurses by the year 2026.